Do you like horror stories? I still hear the scream in my nightmares. It wasn't just a sound. It was the kind of scream that clawed its way into your bones, a shriek of terror that didn't fade but instead burrowed deep, embedding itself in the marrow of my memory. It belonged to my best friend Emma, and it came from inside that house. We were just kids, playing hide and seek in the woods behind my grandparents' house, the kind of dense shadow-drenched forest that seemed to stretch forever. Emma was visiting for the summer, staying with her grandparents just like me. And then there was Daniel, the third in our little trio, the only boy and always the one daring us to do something reckless. That day the dare led us to the house. Everyone in the village knew about the old Murdoch house. No one lived there. No one went near it. The stories about it twisted and changed depending on who you asked. Some said it belonged to a witch who vanished into the night. Others swore a family had been murdered there, their bodies never found. But the version that stuck with us was that the house was haunted, inhabited by something nameless, something waiting. So when Daniel suggested a bet, whoever was brave enough to go inside would get dessert from the other two for the rest of the summer, Emma didn't hesitate. She always had something to prove, especially to Daniel. "You two are such cowards," she said with a grin before pushing open the door and stepping inside. We waited. The wind stirred the trees. A bird shrieked somewhere in the distance, but otherwise the world was silent. I shifted from foot to foot, glancing at Daniel, who stood frozen beside me, his jaw clenched. Then the gunshot. A crack of thunder split the air, too close, too real. And then Emma screamed. And then nothing. Daniel grabbed my arm. "We have to go." "But Emma." "Now, Lily." We ran like the devil was chasing us, lungs burning, legs aching, branches lashing at our skin. We burst through my grandparents' front door, gasping, sobbing. The words tumbled out in a frantic, jumbled mess. My grandfather called the police. My grandmother held me tight, whispering prayers. When the officers arrived at the house, they found a body. A woman covered in blood, shot in the chest. Emma was there too, bound hand and foot, her mouth gagged. She had fainted. She woke up in the hospital with no memory of what had happened. But I did. I hadn't seen anything, but I had heard something. A shuffle, a ragged breath, the sound of footsteps leaving before we had arrived. Someone had been in that house with Emma. Someone who had left her alive. Why? Years passed. The case went cold. The police had their stories, but with no witnesses, no one who remembered anything, they let it go. A name had been whispered in the village, the murdered woman's father-in-law, but nothing stuck. Emma and her family moved away, and the abandoned house rotted, collapsing into itself like something relieved to be forgotten. Until now. I hadn't seen Emma in years, but when she returned to the village to visit her grandparents, Daniel and I met up with her, just like old times. It felt strange walking through the woods again, like we were ghosts retracing our own steps. And then we saw the ruins. Where the house had once stood, there were only remnants of stone and wood, half swallowed by moss and decay. The air felt thick, pressing against my skin like something unseen was watching. Emma took a step forward, her face unreadable, her fingers twitching at her sides. And then, just like that, she stopped. Her whole body stiffened. Her breath hitched. Her eyes widened, and in that moment I knew. She remembered. She turned to me, her face drained of color. "I saw him," she whispered. "I saw his face." The next day she went to the police. The case was reopened. The woman's father-in-law, a man now old and frail, had been a suspect long ago, but no one could place him at the scene. Now, with Emma's testimony, they could. He had killed his daughter-in-law that night, believing she was trying to take his son away from him. Emma had seen it all, had locked eyes with him before he gagged her and left her for dead. Her mind had buried the memory, protecting her from something too horrible to comprehend at 10 years old. But the forest never forgets. Neither do the dead, and neither do I. That night I dreamt of the house again, but this time something was different. I wasn't standing outside waiting. I was inside, and I wasn't alone. A whisper curled through the darkness, slithering against my ear like a breath not my own. "Lily," it sighed, "you left me." I turned, my heart hammering, and there she was. Emma, but not Emma. Her face was pale, her lips dark, her eyes nothing but black pits dripping with something thick, something red. Her hands were reaching for me. I woke up screaming. The next morning Emma was gone. Not just gone, missing. Her grandparents had no idea where she had gone. Her car was still in the driveway, her phone, her purse untouched. It was as if she had simply vanished. But I knew better. Because when I turned on my phone, there was a single message waiting for me. A photo of the ruins. And in the center of the collapsed house, something new. Footprints in the dirt, leading into the darkness, and beneath it a single word. Come.